In 1984, the film The Karate Kid inspired laughter, courage, and some of the most legendary scenes in cinema. But 40 years later, the fate of many of the actors took a much more tragic turn. Some fought cancer until their deaths. Some people died on set. Others were found days later. Today, we're looking at actors who died too young and the touching stories they never got to tell. Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso. Ralph Macchio was born on November 4, 1961, in Huntington, New York. At the age of 22, he played the lead role of Daniel LaRusso in the film The Karate Kid, 1984. A young man from a poor family who learns discipline, humility, and courage from Mr. Miyagi. The role made him one of the most popular young heroes of the 1980s and a cultural icon of perseverance. Although the world saw him as a promising young star of the TV series Reseda, Macchio quietly struggled with the negatives of fame for years. His marriage to Phyllis Fierro in 1987 brought him some stability, but the pressures of Hollywood continued to threaten his family life. The frustration caused by the stereotypes that followed the release of The Karate Kid led to long periods of unemployment, which almost forced him to abandon his acting career in the 1990s. At the same time, the death of his older brother profoundly affected his life, making family relationships fragile and often difficult. Despite these pressures, Phyllis continued to support him unconditionally, even though the sacrifices she made were considerable. Macchio took on roles sporadically, hoping to make a triumphant comeback, but he was plagued by financial worries and the fear that he would never shake off his image as Daniel LaRusso. This uncertainty was dispelled only after he received recognition for his role in My Cousin Vinny, 1992, proving that he could succeed outside the world of karate. However, this emotional turmoil continued into his 40s and influenced his approach to other roles, including his return in Cobra Kai. Ralph Macchio, 64, is still an active actor and writer, and he celebrated the relaunch of his career with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2024. With an estimated net worth of around $8 million, he remains active in film, television, and philanthropy, while maintaining the modesty that characterized the young man who emerged on the art scene more than 4 decades ago. Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi. Pat Morita was born on June 28, 1932, in Alton, California. At the age of 52, he portrayed Mr. Miyagi, the calm and wise teacher with a gentle but strong personality who gave rise to the character of the Karate Kid in the 1984 film. His calm presence on screen became a symbol of discipline, compassion, and resilience, and marked a turning point in his long and eventful life. Behind his calm smile is a man who has been struggling with emotional problems for years. His marriage to Kathleen Yamachi fell apart when he became an alcoholic, setting off a vicious cycle of arguments, guilt, and financial difficulties that he couldn't escape. Hoping for a fresh start, he married Yukiya Kitahara, but the scars of his past still haunt him. Although his career took off with his role in The Karate Kid, Morita felt limited by stereotypes that limited his talent to the comedy genre. This frustration affected his personal life and exacerbated conflicts in his second marriage. As his emotional problems worsened, so did his physical health. Years of alcoholism had damaged his kidneys, and recurring infections made every day a struggle. By the time he finally found some stability with Evelyn Guerrero, his third wife, his health was already seriously compromised. Despite the success of projects like Mulan, he had to battle his illness in silence, overcoming the pain to continue working, because slowing down would mean giving up. Pat Morita died on November 24, 2005, at the age of 73, at his home in Las Vegas, from kidney failure caused by a recurring infection. He was cremated in Palm Green Valley, leaving behind a memorial to his frail final years. His fortune was estimated at approximately $5 million at the time of his death. Martin Kove as John Kreese. Martin Kove was born on March 6, 1946, in Brooklyn, New York. At 38, he played John Kreese. With just one role, he secured his place in film history as the embodiment of iron discipline and unwavering determination. But the man who played Kreese was fighting a very different battle. His 20-year marriage to Vivian Kove was crumbling under the weight of financial disagreements and the growing pressure of raising their twin children. After his career stalled after the third installment of the Karate Kid series, the pressure intensified and the family tension became unbearable. The breakdown of the marriage profoundly affected his outlook on life and career for years to come. The family turmoil clearly reflected the negative impact his work was having on his health. In the 1990s, a lack of acting roles, rising healthcare costs, and declining income forced him to turn to martial arts to make ends meet. In 2025, at the age of 79, Martin Kove, still associated with the role that made him famous, reprised his role as Kreese in Cobra Kai. He lives on a 5-acre ranch in Tennessee and practices meditation, karate, horseback riding, and runs his own cigar brand, The Prodigal Son. His net worth, largely thanks to his role in Cobra Kai, is estimated at about $2 million. William Bassett as Mr. Mills. William Henry Bassett was born on December 28, 1935, in Evanston, Illinois. At the age of 48, Bassett portrayed Mr. Mills, a strict and authoritarian figure who added tension to Daniel's world in the 1984 film The Karate Kid. Although his screen time was limited, his magnetic presence gave the film a great deal of authenticity. In his personal life, Bassett's career was marked by responsibility and dedication. During the 1970s, he often played prominent supporting roles, which limited his income and hampered his career. To support his family, he began working as a voice actor in commercials, a decision born not of artistic passion but of financial necessity. The pressure to provide for his family increased when his wife, Patricia Ann Dorsey, developed serious health problems, forcing Bassett to divide his time between filming and caring for his family. Although their marriage lasted a long time, it too had its challenges. The couple battled illness, medical bills, and emotional exhaustion together until Patricia's death in 2010, after 48 years of marriage. Her death plunged Bassett into a deep loneliness, especially in his later years, as he took on increasingly minor roles. Even in films like The Towering Inferno and as a voice actor in Metal Gear Solid, his performances carried the weight of a man who had dedicated half his life to caring for the woman he loved but couldn't save. William Bassett died of natural causes on February 9, 2025, in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles, at the age of 89. He left behind a rich body of work that included over 100 film and television appearances, as well as countless voiceover roles that were cherished by generations of actors and fans. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at approximately $1.2 million, a testament to a long and distinguished career built on perseverance, determination, and understated professionalism. Elizabeth Shue as Allie Mills. Elizabeth Shue was born on October 6, 1963, in Wilmington, Delaware. At the age of 20, she played Allie Mills, a bright and confident cheerleader who becomes Daniel LaRusso's first love in the 1984 film The Karate Kid. Her natural charm brought warmth to the story and made Allie a memorable character. But behind her rising Hollywood fame were wounds that would mark her adult life. The sudden death of her brother William in 1988 deeply affected her and plunged her into an immense grief that forced her to interrupt her career and withdraw from public life. The tragedy led to a long period of depression, despite her efforts to spend time with her family. The weight of this ordeal undermined her confidence in her work. Although she took on smaller roles after her nanny job, she often wondered if she still belonged and gradually settled down. Her marriage to director Davis Guggenheim in 1994 brought her stability. But even this enduring marriage was tested when Hollywood gossip briefly overshadowed her family life. Elizabeth Shue overcame emotional crises by returning to challenging roles, channeling her pain and insecurity into performances such as Leaving Las Vegas, 1995, for which she received an Academy Award nomination. In 2025, at age 62, Elizabeth Shue continues to act in film and television, most notably in her critically acclaimed role in The Boys. And with an estimated net worth of $20 million, she has built a career based not only on her talent but also on her resilience. Chad McQueen as Dutch. Chad McQueen was born on December 28, 1960, in Los Angeles, California. At 23, he played Dutch, an impulsive and cunning fighter, in Cobra Kai, whose intensity heavily influenced the 1984 film The Karate Kid. His screen presence felt natural, almost innate, as if his ferocity and confidence stemmed from a life driven by speed, adrenaline, and pressure. Raised as the son of Steve McQueen, he inherited both privilege and pressure. His brief marriage to Sharon Stone in 1987 collapsed under the weight of addiction and emotional instability that plagued him in his early 20s. The end of that marriage marked the beginning of a long and turbulent period that would haunt him in his later relationships with Jeannie Galbraith and Stacey Totten. Custody disputes, conflicting expectations, and ghosts from the past set off an emotional storm that derailed all his plans, even promising moments in his acting career in films like Death Ring and Red Line 3. The family tensions quickly exacerbated the physical consequences of his passion for motorsport. In 2006, he was involved in an accident at Daytona that broke his vertebrae, leg, and ribs. He has been partially paralyzed since then and suffers from persistent chronic pain. The accident forced him to end his racing career. Although he continued to work in motorsports media and later founded the McQueen racing team, physical pain gradually limited his mobility and eventually weakened his internal organs. Chad McQueen died on September 11, 2024, at the age of 63 at his ranch in Palm Desert, California, from multiple organ failure after years of unsuccessful treatment. His net worth, which he had amassed during his career as an actor, racing driver, and producer, was estimated at $45 million. Pat Johnson as a referee. Pat E. Johnson was born on December 31, 1939, in Niagara Falls, New York. In 1984, at the age of 44, he appeared in the film The Karate Kid as the referee for the All Valley Tournament and also choreographed the main action scenes. His performance, imbued with discipline and authority, perfectly captured the spirit of the film. Despite Johnson's precision and professionalism, his marriage to Sue Birkeland Felix was marked by considerable strain for many years. The demands of martial arts training, long study schedules, and constant travel drove a wedge between them, forcing Johnson to choose between caring for his family and being involved in their daily lives. The pressure intensified when injuries sustained during the filming of Rise of the Dragon caused lingering pain, interrupted his teaching career, and led to financial difficulties, further straining their relationship. The emotional toll of this situation prevented him from fully focusing on important projects like Karate Kid 3, and where he struggled to juggle family responsibilities with the demands of Hollywood. Over the years, their marriage remained strong, but not without challenges. Chronic pain forced Johnson to undergo multiple surgeries, limiting his mobility and exacerbating existing tensions with his wife. Disagreements with Chuck Norris over artistic preferences worsened the situation, costing him roles and damaging the professional relationship he valued. The accumulation of marital problems, career setbacks, and the physical effects of his former life as a stuntman eventually led to a decline in his health, including cardiovascular disease. It is with deep sadness that we announce the passing of Pat Johnson, who passed away on November 5, 2023, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 83 from natural causes. He spent his final years peacefully surrounded by his family, far from the turmoil of the world that had marked his life. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at approximately $800,000, an inheritance he had accumulated over decades as a choreographer. Randy Heller as Lucille LaRusso. Randy Heller was born on June 10, 1947, in Brooklyn, New York. Jane Heller played Lucille LaRusso, a loving and determined single mother whose faith and optimism guided Daniel on his journey in The Karate Kid, 1984, at the age of 37. Her performance brought emotional balance to the film and made Lucille one of the most memorable mother characters of the decade. However, her personal life was marked by the losses she experienced as a child. The death of her parents plunged her into a deep depression and forced her to abandon her artistic career. To support herself and her family, she took on a series of odd jobs. In an attempt to rebuild her life, Heller faced increasing pressure in Hollywood. She was constantly relegated to supporting roles in comedies, which prevented her from landing leading roles and undermined her self-confidence. Despite her initial success on the television soap opera, she considered retiring from show business altogether after a series of Broadway failures that left her emotionally drained. Her marriage brought her both comfort and challenges. Heller married Jeffrey West in 1998, but a demanding schedule and career uncertainty led to a growing distance between them, culminating in a temporary separation in 2005. Although they eventually reconciled, their strained relationship took its toll on her mental health and worsened her anxiety over the years. She continued to struggle with these issues, appearing on the series Bulworth and earning an Emmy nomination for her role on Mad Men, while circulatory problems increasingly hampered her career. Randy Heller, now 78, is still active in television, often in roles that required a high degree of emotional commitment. His net worth is estimated at $1.5 million in 2025, a fortune accumulated over decades through his work as an actor and voice actor. William Zabka and Johnny Lawrence. William Zabka was born on October 20th, 1965, in New York City. At the age of 18, he played Johnny Lawrence, the aggressive Cobra Kai champion and rival of Daniel LaRusso, in the film The Karate Kid, 1984. The role made him one of the most famous teenage villains of the decade and an icon of karate in film. But behind that iconic image was a young actor struggling to break free from a certain type of role. His first marriage, before he met Stacy Lynn Doss, ended quietly due to financial difficulties after he left Hollywood in 1990 to study directing. After years of frustration at being constantly cast as villains, this unsuccessful situation forced him to take on various jobs to make ends meet, and his frustration only strengthened his determination to change his image. Even as he played leading roles in films such as Back to School, 1986, he constantly wondered whether the film industry would ever allow him to escape the public eye. Throughout his career, he was haunted by the emotional wounds of a previous marriage. This disappointment affected his work, especially in the years when he was trying to establish himself as a director, and he suffered financial setbacks with his subsequent independent films. This instability deeply affected his relationship with Stacy, but they decided to stay together and raise their 2 children while he focused on his artistic development. His career took a decisive turn when he became a co-producer of the series Cobra Kai, in which Johnny Lawrence played a troubled man seeking redemption. In 2025, in his 60s and still very active in the entertainment industry, William Zabka remains the lead actor, producer, and director of Cobra Kai after 6 seasons. With a fortune estimated at around $4 million, he has finally achieved a goal he previously considered impossible. Rob Garrison, who plays Tommy, was born on January 23, 1960, in Wheeling, West Virginia, in 1984. At the age of 24, he played Tommy, the impulsive member of the Cobra Kai gang, in the film The Karate Kid, which became famous for its iconic catchphrase, "Body bag!" His youthful energy made the character memorable, despite his small stature. After this brief moment of fame, Garrison's life spiraled out of control. His decision to remain single forced him to confront his problems, and his isolation deepened after he was cast in villainous roles. The loss of steady employment after Iron Eagle left him in dire financial straits, forcing him to take odd jobs outside the film industry and write screenplays at night in the hope of reviving his career. The disappointment gradually led to chronic depression, a burden that made every audition a constant reminder of her failure. Over time, her health deteriorated. The stress of an uncertain career and a long battle with depression eventually took their toll on her body. Rob Garrison died on September 27, 2019, at the age of 59, after a month-long hospitalization for kidney and liver complications caused by chronic illnesses. His net worth was estimated at approximately $1 million at the time of his death, which he had accumulated over the decades through small acting roles and stage productions.